There is a man who worked at Microsoft from 2003 to 2018. He saved aggressively, maxed his 401k every single year, and built up $750,000 by age 42. Then he quit to become a yoga instructor, making $38,000 a year. His friends thought he had lost his mind. His parents stopped calling. But here is what nobody understood. He had already won. Even if he never invested another dollar again, that $750,000 would compound into $2.4 million by age 65 at 7%. His retirement was on autopilot. He simply did not need the stress anymore. Then there is the opposite story. A lawyer, 51 years old, makes $320,000 a year. He has $1.2 million saved. He still works 70-hour weeks because he is convinced he needs to hit $2 million before he can breathe. Except the math says something completely different. If he stopped contributing today, that $1.2 million becomes $2.3 million in 12 years without him lifting a single finger. He is grinding for a number he is already mathematically guaranteed to exceed. Both of these people crossed an invisible line. A line most investors never even know exists. The moment where your contributions stop being the main character in your wealth story, where compounding takes over so completely that whether you add another dollar or not becomes almost irrelevant to the final outcome. And here's the thing that will surprise you most. Most people are closer to that line than they think. They just do not know how to calculate it. So today, I'm going to show you the exact mathematical moment when your retirement becomes inevitable. I am going to give you the formula to calculate your personal crossover point and your coast-to-fi number. And I'm going to explain why understanding this shifts your entire relationship with work, risk, and money forever. My name is Uncle Investor, and I am 45 years old. I've spent years breaking down how real wealth actually gets built, and today I am handing you the math that most people never see. If you want to stop guessing and start knowing exactly where you stand financially, subscribe and hit the like button right now. Now let us get into it. Every investing journey runs on two engines. Engine one is loud, and it is painful. Your contributions. This is the money you manually pull from your paycheck and push into your 401k, your IRA, or your brokerage account every single month. Early on, this engine is doing everything. You are the wealth. Without your paycheck, without your discipline, nothing moves. Engine two is quiet and almost invisible. Compounding. In the beginning, this engine is weak. You have $10,000 invested. It grows 7%. That is $700. It feels meaningless compared to the $20,000 you are contributing that year. But these two engines do not stay equal. One gets tired, the other gets stronger. Think of them like two horses pulling a carriage up a mountain. Early on, the contribution horse is doing almost all the pulling. The compounding horse is just along for the ride. But as the portfolio grows, as the compounding horse feeds on time and market returns, something shifts. The compounding horse gets stronger and stronger until one day it is pulling so hard that even if the contribution horse stopped completely, the carriage would still reach the top. That specific point on the mountain has a name. It is called the crossover point. The crossover point is straightforward. It is the moment your portfolio's annual growth exceeds your annual contributions. The moment the compounding engine generates more dollars in a single year than you can realistically save and invest. Let us make this concrete with real numbers. Say you are investing $20,000 per year into broad index funds. That is a solid number above the median for most American households. And we will assume a long-run average return of 7% after inflation. Conservative, based on decades of S&P 500 data. When you have $100,000 invested, 7% growth gives you $7,000. Your $20,000 contribution is still doing 74% of the work. You are still the engine. Compounding is still the passenger. At $300,000 invested, 7% gives you $21,000. Now you are roughly even. You and compounding are sharing the load equally. The carriage has two horses pulling with equal strength. At $500,000 invested, 7% gives you $35,000. Your $20,000 contribution now represents just 36% of your total annual portfolio increase. Compounding is the main character now. You are the supporting actor. At $1 million invested, 7% gives you $70,000. At that point, your contribution is not useless, but psychologically, it is a rounding error. The portfolio is doing 3.5 times more work than you are. This is why experienced investors say it gets easier after the first few $100,000. That is not motivational talk. That is pure math. In the early years, you are pushing a boulder uphill, around the $300,000 to $500,000 range, depending on how much you save. the boulder starts rolling on its own. You are just keeping pace. Now here is where this becomes genuinely powerful. Once you understand the crossover point, you can run a thought experiment that answers the question most people are scared to even ask out loud. What actually happens if I stop contributing at different checkpoints? Same assumptions. $20,000 a year, 7% growth, aiming for $1 million. If you contribute all the way through, you hit $1 million in roughly 23 years. That is your baseline. The standard path most people follow without ever questioning it. Now watch what changes when you stop at different milestones. Stop at $100,000. That takes you roughly 5 years to get there. From that point, compounding alone would take approximately 33 more years to reach $1 million. Total time, 38 years. You added 15 years to your timeline by stopping too early. The compounding horse simply was not strong enough yet. You did not have critical mass. Stop at $300,000 instead. That takes about 11 years of contributing. From there, compounding carries you the rest of the way in approximately 18 more years. Total time, 29 years. You only added 6 years compared to the baseline. Why? Because you hit critical mass. The compounding engine had enough fuel to do the heavy lifting on its own. Now here is the one that will genuinely stop you in your tracks. Stop at $500,000. That takes about 15 years of contributions to reach. From that point, compounding doubles it to $1 million in roughly 10 to 11 more years. Total time, around 25 to 26 years. Stopping at $500,000 only delays your $1 million milestone by 2 to 3 years compared to contributing the entire way. Now, let that sink in for a moment. Halfway to your goal in dollars is not halfway in time. Once you reach critical mass, once that compounding horse gets powerful enough, your ongoing contributions matter less and less in relative terms. The machine starts carrying itself. But now you are probably thinking something important, okay? Contributions matter less after critical mass. But does that mean I do not need to invest anymore? No. And this is exactly where people confuse two completely separate concepts, the crossover point and what is called coast FI. Let me explain the difference clearly because this is where the psychology gets interesting. The crossover point is a psychological shift. It is the moment you realize compounding is doing more work than your paycheck. It feels validating. It feels like a reward for years of discipline, but it does not mean you are finished contributing. Coast FI is different. Coast FI is the true moment you no longer need to invest for retirement. Coast FI is the amount you need invested today, so that even if you never add another dollar, compounding will grow it into your full retirement goal by your target age. Coast FI does not necessarily mean early retirement. It means freedom from pressure. It means you can work fewer hours. You can take a lower paying job you actually enjoy. You can start a business without terror. You can stop feeling like one bad financial year destroys your entire future. Here is how you calculate it. I am going to walk through this slowly because most people never see this written out clearly. First, decide how much you want to spend per year in retirement. Let us say $70,000. Next, subtract any income you expect that does not come from selling your investments. Social Security, a pension, rental income. Let us estimate $25,000 from Social Security. That means your portfolio needs to generate $45,000 per year on its own. Now using the 4% rule, a guideline built on decades of historical withdrawal rate research, you divide that $45,000 by 4%. That gives you $1,125,000. That is your target portfolio. That is your finish line. Now here is the part most people never actually see explained clearly. To find your Coast FI number, you take that target and you reverse engineer it using compound growth over time. The formula works like this. Take your target portfolio, divide it by 1 plus your expected real return, raised to the power of the number of years you have until retirement. Real return means your return after accounting for inflation. So if you expect 8% nominal returns and inflation runs at 3%, your real return is 5%. Let us say you are 35 years old and you want to retire at 65. That is 30 years of compounding time. You take $1,125,000 and divide it by 1.05 compounded over 30 years. That comes out to roughly $260,000, meaning if you are 35 years old and you have around $260,000 invested right now, you do not need to contribute another dollar for retirement to still work on schedule. Not because markets are guaranteed, not because nothing can go wrong, but because time and compounding are now doing the heavy lifting for you. That is Coast FI. That is the moment the pressure begins to genuinely come off. Let us make this feel real with a concrete example. Meet Amanda. She is 38 years old, works as a software engineer, and earns $130,000 a year. She has been investing 15% of her gross income since she was 25. That is roughly $19,500 a year. After 13 years of consistent contributions, her portfolio is now sitting at $420,000. She wants to retire at 60. That is 22 years from now. She wants to spend $60,000 a year in retirement. Assuming $22,000 from Social Security, her portfolio needs to generate $38,000 annually. Using the 4% rule, that gives her a target of $950,000. Now her Coast FI number. You take $950,000 and divide it by 1.05 compounded over 22 years. That comes out to roughly $325,000. Amanda has $420,000 invested. Her Coast FI number is $325,000. She has already passed it by a significant margin. What does that mean in practical terms? It means if Amanda got laid off tomorrow and took a job as a park ranger making $45,000 a year just for the health insurance and the peace of mind, her retirement is still completely on track. She does not need to invest another dollar. That $420,000 will compound into approximately $1.2 million by age 60, even if she never adds to it again. That is not theory. That is math. But here is the danger nobody talks about. Reaching your Coast fee number creates a psychological trap. Call it the just one more year problem. You hit your Coast fee number, you realize you do not need to grind anymore, but you are so deeply conditioned to optimize, to maximize, to push harder that you keep going anyway. You tell yourself, well, if I work 5 more years at this salary, I will have way more than I need. I will have a bigger buffer. I will have more options. And that sounds completely reasonable. But here's what actually happens. Those 5 years turn into 10. You get used to the income, you upgrade your lifestyle, you buy the bigger house, you finance the luxury car, and suddenly your Coast FI number has moved because your spending expectations inflated to match your income. You are back on the treadmill. I have seen this happen to people with $2 million saved. They are technically financially independent. They could walk away today, but they have built a life that costs $12,000 a month, so they feel broke. They are trapped by their own success. There is a parable that captures this perfectly. An American investment banker is on vacation in a small coastal town. He sees a local fisherman dock his boat with a beautiful catch. The banker asks why he does not stay out longer and catch more fish. The fisherman says this is enough for his family and a little extra to sell. The banker gets excited and launches into a full business plan. Catch more fish, buy a bigger boat, scale the operation, eventually take the company public. Then what? The fisherman asks. Then you can retire and spend your days fishing, the banker says. The fisherman looks at him quietly. I already do that. Now, I am not romanticizing poverty or suggesting wealth building is pointless. The fisherman's situation works because of his specific circumstances. That does not scale for most of us. But the principle is absolutely real. At some point, more money does not buy more freedom. It just buys more complexity. Your Coast FI number is the mathematical proof of enough. It is the point where the machine you built is strong enough to carry you even if you stop feeding it. The crossover point and Coast FI are not just financial milestones, they are psychological tests. They reveal whether you are investing to build genuine freedom or simply to satisfy a need for more. Whether you are optimizing for time or for status. Whether you truly understand the difference between enough and everything. So here is what to actually do with everything you just learned. Step 1, calculate your Coast FI number today. Right now. Use the formula. Take your target portfolio and divide it by 1 plus your real return compounded over the number of years until retirement. If you are below your Coast FI number, your mission is clear. Keep contributing. You are still in the phase where your paycheck is the primary engine. Automate your investments. Do not try to time the market. Just keep feeding the machine consistently. If you are at or above your Coast FI number, you just unlocked something most people never find in their entire financial lives. You have real options now. You can keep contributing to build a larger safety buffer. You can downshift and reclaim your time. You can take career risks that once felt terrifying because your financial baseline is already secure. Step 2, separate your identity from your income. This is the hardest one. We are deeply conditioned to tie our self-worth to our earning power. Hitting Coast FI means your financial outcome is secure, but it does not define who you are. Do not let the newfound freedom make you reckless. Use it to take smart, calculated risks, not foolish ones driven by overconfidence. Step 3, design your life in chapters, not decades. Before Coast FI, your job is to build the machine. After Coast FI, your job is to decide what the machine is actually for. More wealth, more time with family, more impact on the world around you. There is no universally right answer. But if you do not choose deliberately, inertia will choose for you. and inertia almost always chooses more of the same. Here are the milestones worth tracking on your journey. Your first $10,000, proof that the habit exists and that you can do this. Your first $100,000, the point where compounding starts to feel real for the first time, the crossover point. The moment your portfolio's annual growth beats your annual contributions. The moment your portfolio earns more in a single year than your salary does. Surreal, but it happens to people who stay the course. Your Coast FI number. The moment contributions become optional. The moment your investments cover your essential living expenses. The first real taste of genuine financial security. And finally, the moment work itself becomes fully optional. That is the end game. That is what all of this is building toward. Your investing journey is not one long grind to age 65. It is a series of distinct and meaningful shifts. Early on, you are the engine. Then compounding becomes your co-pilot. Then compounding becomes the driver. And eventually, if you stay in the game long enough, you reach that extraordinary moment where your contributions no longer feel like the main thing because your money is finally and completely pulling its own weight. So wherever you are right now, starting from zero, building toward your first $10,000, climbing toward $100,000, pushing for that $300,000 to $500,000 crossover range, just remember this. You are not just saving money. You are building a machine. And once that machine gets big enough, it does not need you pushing it forever. It just needs you to stay out of its way. That is it for today. If this video gave you real clarity on where you stand and where you are headed, do me one quick favor. Share it with a friend or a family member who needs to hear this. Most people go their entire lives without ever understanding the crossover point or Coast FI. You could be the reason someone close to you finally gets it. That share costs you nothing and could genuinely change someone's financial future. And if you have not already, hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a video like this one. Now go watch our last video, Why Car Payments Keep You Broke, because understanding how car payments silently destroy your ability to ever reach your crossover point is just as important as knowing what the crossover point is. The link is right on your screen. Drop a comment below and tell me where you are right now on this journey. Are you chasing your first $10,000, building toward $100,000, or are you closing in on that crossover point? I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know where you stand. Uncle Investor out. Keep building.